Welcome back to the 5 p.m. podcast, everyone. I'm Dan, and as always, I'm ready to dive into the messy, fascinating world of Canadian politics.
And I'm Tina, here to, hopefully, keep Dan from getting times lost in the weeds. Though, let's be honest, sometimes the weeds are where the interesting stuff is hiding.
Exactly. And today, oh boy, do we have some interesting weeds. We're talking about the Liberal Party of Canada's leadership race, and specifically, how some candidates seem to be times adjusting, times their positions.
Adjusting. That's one word for it. Some might say flip-flopping, but we're going to be charitable here, at least for now. We're seeing candidates subtly, and sometimes not so subtly, shifting their stances on key issues.
It's a classic political maneuver, right? You start with your core beliefs, your base, and then you see which way the wind is blowing. Or, in this case, which way the preferential ballot is pushing you.
The preferential ballot. Explain that one for folks who might not be familiar with the intricacies of Canadian political party leadership races.
Okay, so basically what's happening is, instead of just voting for one candidate, Liberal Party members rank the candidates in order of preference, and each riding, that's like a voting district, gets 100 points to divvy up proportionally. So if nobody gets a majority on the first count, the last place candidate is eliminated, and their votes get redistributed based on the second choices on those ballots.
So it's not just about getting the asterisk most times first place votes. You also need to be a lot of people's second or even third choice, which means appealing to a broader range of voters within the party.
Precisely. It incentivizes candidates to, shall we say, primes broaden their appeal, which, let's be honest, can sometimes lead to those adjustments we were talking about.
And we have 6 approved candidates doing this dance right now. We've got Mark Carney, former Bank of Canada and Bank of England governor; Chrystia Freeland, the current Deputy Prime Minister and former Finance Minister; Karina Gould, Minister of Families; Frank Baylis, who used to be an MP; and Ruby Dalla, also a former MP.
It's quite the lineup. And they're all vying for the top spot after Justin Trudeau resigned in January following those, disappointing times by-election results.
Disappointing is an understatement. The Liberals lost 2 seats they'd held for a long time. That's gotta sting. And it definitely puts pressure on these leadership candidates to show they can turn things around.
Here's the thing about those by-election losses. They swing the average about 12% to Conservatives. That's a lot of voters changing their minds and changing parties.
So let's talk about some of these adjustments. What are we seeing specifically?
Well, it's tricky to get into super specifics because a lot of this is inferred from their backgrounds and subtle shifts in rhetoric. But for example, Carney, with his banking background, you'd expect him to be all about tight monetary policy. But now, he's talking more about flexible inflation targeting to promote growth. Which, makes sense given the current economic anxieties.
Right, because a recession is looming and people are worried about their jobs, not just inflation. So he's adapting to the current concerns.
And Freeland, with her fiscal background, you might expect her to be laser focused on balancing the budget. But she's also adjusting the message, changing the emphasis. It's not that these are radical shifts, it's more that their emphasis and tone are evolving.
It's like they're reading the room, or in this case, the country, and adjusting their message accordingly. But does that come across as genuine or opportunistic?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's a tough one to answer because, on the one hand, you want politicians to be responsive to the needs and concerns of the people, but on the other hand, you don't want them to just say whatever they think will get them elected.
It's a delicate balance. And the perception of authenticity is asterisk huge. If voters think a candidate is just saying what they think people want to hear, that can backfire.
And it's not just about the policies themselves. It's about the asterisk way times they're communicated. Are they explaining times why times they've changed their position? Are they acknowledging the complexities of the issues?
Are they being transparent about their reasoning? Or are they just hoping nobody notices the shift?
Exactly. And that's where the media and podcasts like ours come in. We need to scrutinize these shifts, ask the tough questions, and help voters make informed decisions.
Speaking of informed decisions, there's also that hefty entrance fee for candidates. $350,000. That's a lot of money.
It is. And it's designed to weed out, less serious candidates. But it also raises questions about accessibilities. Does that kind of price tag limit the field to only wealthy individuals or those with access to wealthy donors?
It's a valid concern. Does it create a barrier for candidates who might have great ideas and strong support within the party, but not that kind of personal wealth or fundraising network?
It's something to think about. How does this compare to other parties, like the Conservatives or the NDP? Do they have similar entry fees?
From what I understand, the Conservative Party leadership race had a lower entrance fee. It reflects different philosophies about how these races should be run and who should be able to participate.
And all of this, the preferential ballot, the shifting stances, the entrance fee, it all contributes to the overall narrative of the race. It's not just about choosing a leader. It's about the future direction of the Liberal Party.
And that future is looking uncertain, to say the least. The Liberals are trailing the Conservatives in the polls. The new leader will have a huge task ahead of them: uniting the party, regaining public trust, and preparing for the 2025 federal election.
It's going to be a fascinating race to watch, and we'll be here, breaking it all down, week after week. Thanks for joining us on the 5 p.m. podcast.
See you next time, when we'll dive even deeper into the political weeds.